Well, that was fun, interesting, exciting, all the above. So really excited for the guys to have that kind of experience. It's great atmosphere, and then and fight through all the adversity that we had. Some of it was due to Clemson, some of it was on our own behalf, but we showed some real character in some of those moments, in regrouping and gathering to channel the right energy and the right focus that it took to win in that last extra 5 minutes. So, but just was fun. This is what college basketball is about. It's fun. I mean, it's more fun that we won, trust me. But I think from a spectator standpoint, you have to acknowledge how entertaining that basketball game was. So just really happy for the guys, excited for them. I could hear the locker room while we were in the coach's locker room, and so they deserve that. That's what you need, that for growth. You need some good wins like that for growth. So was really happy for them.
David on the left.
Lamont, Miles hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but as he said, he just kept shooting and believing in himself, and tonight it seemed to come up. You know, he's a senior, been around. Had you talked to him during this rough start early to the season, and how good was it to see to hit those shots tonight?
Yeah, a little bit, not a whole lot. He's a worker. He has a process, and he doesn't have a process because he's shooting the ball poorly or because he's shooting the ball well. He shoots the ball well because he has a process. He's a professional in terms of how he approaches the work that goes into being a good shooter. So there's no lack of belief. There's been a lack of performance to some degree to his standard, but there's no lack of belief on his end. And nor on mine. He still shoots. I still believe it. When he lets it go, it should go in most times. So it's got to help for him to have that kind of confidence coming from your coaching staff and from your teammates. He's a known, convicted shooter, shot maker. I think his whole life he's done that. So we were waiting, and he picked the right day to have a good day today with the foul trouble and all the other things that were going on. It was right on time.
Alan on the left.
Colin gets a third foul pretty far from the basket there with 5 to go in the half. He gets a fourth early in the second half. You guys kind of went on runs both times. What did you see from your depth, especially the bigs, to weather that storm without probably your most talented player for long stretches?
Yeah, we talk all the time about being ready. Everyone has to be ready. And whatever your role is an important role. We value it as coaches, and for some guys it's waving a towel in any particular game. That's your role that day. And like, if you're a good towel waver and then you show up one day and you don't wave the towel when we need it, you're letting the team down. So just had some guys whose numbers got called, some for longer stretches, some for very small, short stretches. But you look at a game like this, how many possessions there were, the back and forth with all of it, and it's hard to say that any person didn't play a big role in this game, no matter what it looked like. If you went out there at all, you didn't play a big role in this game. So even down to at the end, when Benjamin Bosmans-Verdonk goes in to secure a potentially game-winning rebound, and they made it, but it's a real responsibility. You haven't been out there, you haven't done a whole lot, and you're going to put me in with 3.7 seconds. We know he's trying to miss it. They're going to be shoving me in the back, and I got to win the game by getting a rebound. And so he was ready to go out there and do that when his name was called. So I applaud all those guys for that. Some guys played extended minutes, longer than what they ever have. I mean, I don't think we have too many guys even averaging over 30 minutes. But, these guys are young. They can do it from time to time. Me, on the other hand, not so much. But every now and then they can play log-heavy minutes and got a day off on that. But those guys, the other guys that came in were big. Mo comes off the bench, makes a big three early in the overtime. That was a big one, just to let everybody know, hey, it's okay. So I was really proud of the effort from the non-starting guys too.
John on the right.
Can you describe the defensive plan there at the end of regulation? What went right, what went wrong, and then the emotions, having to settle the emotions going into overtime, and how the guys responded after that?
Yeah, I've always believed that advantage goes to the team that is not disappointed about the extra time you're going to play. One team's disappointed, let's just face it. One team's happy, new life. I've always thought mentally there's a real advantage to that unless you can settle yourself, particularly when that comes on the heels of some self-inflicted wounds. It's one thing, they make 2 sky hooks from half court and they go in, and that's how it goes to overtime. I think it's a little easier to deal with, but when you make some mistakes, it's easy to focus on those and not be able to get to the next play. You know, you're trying to hit a grand slam when really we need you to bunt the runner from first to second, get him in scoring position. I say that right, Coach?
You got it.
There you go. Right? But you're going to be tempted to hit a grand slam or a home run, since it just as the thing went. But I thought at the end of the regulation, though, we did want to foul. That was our intent, was to foul. If we were up 3, if it was 4, we were not going to foul. And then we did not execute. That's part of the learning process. It didn't cost us ultimately. It easily could have, but it didn't cost us. So therefore, you're able to grow. You're forced to grow if you lose. You have to respond to that. You have to. It'd be easy, since it didn't hurt us, to overlook it. But we'll use that for some real growth. And if we get in a situation like that again, guys will be calm and settled, and we'll be able to think and process things the way that we would like to.
Phil in the back left.
You mentioned the entertainment value of a game like this, and when 2 stars take over for their respective teams as a coach on the sideline, do you get a chance yourself to kind of marvel at what those 2 guys were doing out there?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. You're in the trenches. Like, I don't know what Colin had. To be honest with you, I know he was good. They told me afterwards, so I know that Chase Hunter had 27 in the second half. I knew he was cooking. I don't know what the number was, but so you're trying to. There's just so many things that are happening. There's so many decisions that are being made, particularly when you get in a situation where you have the foul trouble that we had, because then every normal situation that you would, or decision that you would make, is impacted by the personnel that can or cannot play, that's not available. All right, we would do this right now. 4 fouls, can't play that guy, or he's out of the game. So it's just, you're processing so much information in those moments that, there's really not a lot of time to be getting caught up as a coach in how guys are performing. They're playing well. That's why we tried to switch a couple of things just so he's so fast. He comes off of those handoffs and ball screens like he's shot out of a cannon. And it's just so hard. He creates so much space. If you're the chaser, it's too hard to catch up with him. Early on in the game, you're willing to hedge your bets on some of those shots will be a little more difficult. You get in that point in the game, you can't afford to have him make a difficult shot. So we switched some of that stuff late, just so we would have a man on a man. I just liked it better with a man on a man, even if we were cross-matched and we were mismatched. A man on a man. Nick did a really good job. Colin did a good job, some even late. Nick did a really good job of putting his hand up, discouraging the 3, forcing him to drive to his left hand, which we had talked about, and then you let the chips fall wherever they may at that point. But so those are we executed really well in some situations like that. But yeah, I thought those guys did a really good job down the stretch.
Pete on the right here.
Lamont, what's gone right in this stretch of games for you that was not maybe working earlier in the year?
Well, I mean, we've gotten better. We've gotten better as a team, and I had said this early that our team was to be judged by the growth that this team made. We could be undefeated right now and be the same team that we were in November, and there wouldn't be the level of satisfaction would not be, at some point you're going to have to grow, or you're already there and you got to ride that off into the sunset for the rest of the season. I just don't know that that's realistic. But this was going to be a team that I was going to encourage people to judge based off of growth. And that's not to say that they're not good. That's just to say our ceiling is really high for this team. It's a really high ceiling. And we weren't there. Just some things that we had to get better at. We have gotten better. We're still not there. I think it's been incremental growth. I think it's been consistent, steady growth. So I would say that. I'd say our ability to our understanding and ability and willingness to perform some pretty reproducible things. I think we've done a much, much better job. I think our competitive spirit is better. I think our belief is better. So we've grown. I think this group's grown in a lot of ways. Still a long ways to go, a lot of growth, even in some individuals just in terms of their skills and abilities. Colin Murray-Boyles is a perfect example of it. I talked early in the year about where was his growth to come from. And I mentioned it was not scoring points, but to generate offense. And in that stretch tonight, that's exactly what he was doing. He was generating offense, sometimes for himself, sometimes reading the defense and making them make decisions and then playing out of that. That's a huge jump to make for a guy. He could score 16 either way. One way, not generating offense, and he's still, and to the average person, they're going to be like, he's scoring the same amount of points. He was able to do it in a way that he generated offense for, and that represents tremendous growth for a young guy. But so just trying to continue to get better as a group, but we're playing better. We're shooting the ball better. That's the other thing. You know, Miles obviously shot it well tonight. Zach Davis had struggled early. His numbers have gotten back a little bit. Jamari Thomas was early on was struggling to shoot. We had a lot of guys struggling to shoot early, so we've shot the ball better. I think that's a big part of it. But I think there's no question that we've played better as a cohesive unit also. Are you retiring, by the way?
Yeah, Pete.
Yeah.
32 years.
About time, man. I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just kidding. Congratulations. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. We're all trying to get to where you're at some point. All right. So,
One day.
One day.
Nick had a really good night tonight too, 19 points, and a lot of that came on post-ups. And how has it kind of been coaching him through a new role where he's coming from an offense where post-ups are almost like heresy, and just not something he had to do a lot. He's still catching lobs, but for him to see him be as effective as he was in the post-up game tonight, what's that kind of been like for you to kind of see that evolution?
Yeah, this is another game that we've done that, and he's had a couple games. Even at Indiana, he had a good game that way. You know, we try to stay true to what we tell these young men when we recruit them. Because that's part of the sell for us is basketball. What's your basketball going to look like? What's the role you're going to have? We're going to do some things like, and I think he believed us, but I don't know if he knew we'd throw the ball into him. I mean, we've got a variety of plays. It takes me 2 hands to count them that are specifically for him to catch the ball on the block and do something. And that's probably, I don't know when the last time that's happened in his life. So it's, you forget how young these guys are. And so it's exciting to see him excited about that. It's exciting to see the growth that goes with that. He's worked hard. He's gotten so much better as an individual catcher of the ball, finisher around the basket. He has a plan on the move that he wants to make. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but he does have a plan. So that's ultimately the what you get. You like to have that kind of, you feel a feeling of rewarding from guys growing in that way. And so I'm happy for him. I've always believed in throwing the ball inside. I think, you know, if you got a guy that can go down there and do something, you have to make a decision on what you're going to do. And Brad does too. They threw the ball inside too. I mean, they got some aggressive guys around the basket. That's why when people talk about the teams, there are similarities, and that's one of them, is that we both believe in the value of someone bigger than average that can kind of do some work around the basket.
Lamont, obviously, this game on its own holds a lot of weight in this state, but you guys have had a tougher non-conference schedule playing teams like Indiana and Xavier, other teams like that, and come up short. What does this win mean to you guys in terms of getting that bigger win? Do you feel like it comes at the perfect time with SEC play around the corner?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I said this last year or not, because we had some good wins last year, and I hate to even throw the word ranking out. I'm not making any sort of suggestion whatsoever. But as far as like rankings and achieving, I want them to get it right at the end of the year. Think about it. There's 25 teams that get ranked, and through the first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, how many teams are in there? Somebody thought this team was really good, they're not good, as it turns out. Somebody thought that team was top 10, they're no longer ranked. It feels good if you want to put it on social media or whatever that is. Maybe your team needs it for confidence. There's some real value in that. But at the end of the day, if you look at last year's team, once we got ranked eventually, we never were not ranked the rest of the season because we were good. So we're not there. We're not there. But this is a big part of proving that you or getting there is to win games like this. We ratcheted up the schedule for sure. Two of our losses of our 3 losses are to teams at the time were ranked top 25, both away from home, one in a true road game in a hostile environment. So I thought it was a very important game for that. I'm focused on growth. I am, honestly. I don't just say that to say it, but I am focused on our growth. But at the end of the day, as a coach, you want to make sure that you scheduled hard for a reason. And you want to reap the benefits of some of that. And wins like this begin to start that process from happening. But it's a great time to do it right as we get ready to roll into conference play. Just got to finish up before we do that, have no letdowns, and continue to focus on ourselves.
All right, we got 3 questions, and we'll get Coach out here. Trey.
Bouncing off of that, what kind of confidence does a win like this build for your team, especially going into SEC play?
Yeah, it builds real confidence, true confidence. And there's a such thing as fake confidence, false bravado, right? Feeling like you're good because somebody told you you're good. That's fleeting, that type of confidence. This is real confidence, true confidence. And I think they know that because the team is good. Again, not because it has a little number next to them when you look on the ESPN or whatever site you go to, but because they see who they are, how they compete, how they play, who they've beaten, right? They know it's a good team. It's the type, and it's such a solid team, it's also the type of team that you don't accidentally beat. So on the other side of that breeds real, true confidence in what your capabilities are. And they don't need me to tell them that. They know that based on what they got accomplished over these last 45 minutes.
Alex on the right.
What can you say about the crowd and atmosphere that was created in the arena today, especially with the students being out of school and the strong turnout they had?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. My anticipation was that we would have a pretty good crowd, but I think it exceeded that just with the students being gone. And we still had students. Probably some of them are hanging around, but I bet you some of them made the trip back. That might have lived an hour and a half away and came back specifically for this game. So that says a lot about our student body. But even without the full complement of our normal student body, our community showed up. Our community was here and showed up, and that was inspirational to the guys. These plays, there's so many pivotal plays. You look at this game in hindsight, so many pivotal plays. And to think that those aren't impacted at all by a crowd, a good crowd, and that's for us and for them, would be naive. So I was really happy with the crowd, and really there's a part of you that wants to really win the game also. It's a small part, the rest of it's for all these other reasons. But you also want to win for your fans too. You do. They made the effort. There's plenty of things they could have been doing. They came, they cheered. They're exhausted. They rode the highs and the lows with you for 45 minutes, and you want to win badly for that fan base. So I was really glad that we were able to do that too.
Last question, front left.
What were you guys able to do to kind of neutralize Victor Locken and take him basically out of the game?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's had a really good year. I think we attacked him from when offensively. We threw the ball to Nick. It was specifically his matchup most of the time, and we attacked and made some strong moves against him and put him in jeopardy of fouling, and he did foul some. I thought that was a big part of the game because he presents a different challenge just with his ability to shoot the ball. And he's big and he's good around the basket. He's got good touch and all that stuff too. But I think the thing that makes you have to make a real decision as an opposing team is what will you do in his ball screens if he ever gets it going from the three-point line. It's one of the hardest things for anyone to guard is if you have a five-man that can shoot. Very difficult. You got to make some real decisions. And so I thought just by attacking him, it neutralized him as a shot blocker. It had no rhythm really to even. It was, we've been in games like that. At Indiana, Colin Murray-Boyles was the same way. Just was in foul trouble. It's hard you get frustrated, which I've always believed is an athlete's worst enemy. But it's hard to play under those circumstances. But I thought we did a good job of attacking him. Putting him in harm's way in terms of fouls, and then he was in and out and just wasn't as much of a factor. So that was really helpful for us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right, thanks.